I used to believe that moving fast meant moving forward. If something took too long, I pushed harder. If someone hesitated, I made the decision for them. But the day I lost everything I had worked for, I realized speed and progress are not the same thing. And patience isn't weakness, it's control. I was 32 when I decided I was tired of waiting. Waiting for recognition, waiting for promotions, waiting for life to finally start. On paper, my life looked stable. I had a decent job at a mid-sized marketing firm in Chicago, good salary, clean apartment, reliable car, friends who respected me. But inside, I felt stuck. Every Monday felt like a repeat of the last. I told myself I deserved more responsibility, more authority, more income. I watched colleagues move up slowly, carefully, methodically, and I judged them. I thought they were timid. I thought they lacked ambition. In reality, they understood something I didn't yet. Sustainable growth requires patience, but I didn't want sustainable. I wanted fast. I spent hours consuming self-improvement content, videos about decision-making psychology, books about bold leadership, podcasts about taking risks. One phrase kept echoing in my mind: fortune favors the bold. I took that personally. At work, a senior manager position opened up. It was above my experience level. Everyone knew it, including me. But I also knew something else. If I didn't push for it, someone else would. So I did something impulsive. Instead of waiting to build credibility or seek mentorship, I scheduled a meeting with the company director and presented a proposal for why I should be promoted immediately. Not next year, now. I framed it as confidence. In truth, it was impatience dressed as ambition. The director listened carefully. He didn't dismiss me, he didn't criticize me. He simply said, "Leadership isn't about speed, it's about timing." I nodded, but internally I rejected it. Timing sounded like an excuse, and that's when impatience started making my decisions for me. 2 weeks later, I received an email, not about a promotion, but about a new opportunity. A startup founder I had met at a networking event reached out. His company was growing quickly. He needed a head of operations. The salary was higher than mine. The title sounded impressive. It was risky, but it was fast. Everything about it felt like validation. He told me, "We move quickly here. No red tape, no waiting." That sentence alone made me feel alive. I didn't deeply research the company's financial stability. I didn't ask detailed questions about long-term projections. I didn't consult mentors or colleagues, because patience feels uncomfortable when you're driven by ego. I gave my notice at my stable job within a week. My coworkers were surprised. One of them said, "That was fast." I smiled and said, "Opportunities don't wait." What I didn't realize was this: good opportunities don't need to rush you. The startup environment was intense. Long hours, constant changes, big promises. At first, I loved it. Decisions were immediate. Titles mattered. I had influence. But within 3 months, cracks started to show. Investor funding was delayed. Payroll became inconsistent. Leadership meetings became tense. When I asked about financial runway, the founder brushed it off. "Relax," he said. "We'll figure it out." That phrase suddenly sounded less inspiring and more reckless. The same speed that excited me at first was now terrifying. Then, one Friday afternoon, we were called into a meeting. The company had lost its primary investor. Operations would shut down within 30 days. Just like that. No warning, no backup plan, no patience. I drove home in silence that day. The apartment felt smaller. The city felt louder. My confidence felt thinner. I had left stability for speed, and speed had no safety net. Unemployment does something to your psychology. It strips away identity. When people ask, "What do you do?" and you hesitate, you feel it. I had savings, enough to survive for a few months, but the pressure wasn't just financial. It was internal. I replayed every decision in my head. Why didn't I research more? Why didn't I ask harder questions? Why did I rush? The honest answer? I didn't want to wait. Patience felt like stagnation, but impatience had just cost me security. I started applying for jobs again, and something unexpected happened. The same marketing firm I had left, they had filled a senior manager role with someone who had waited, someone who had prepared, someone who had built trust quietly. I wasn't angry at them. I was disappointed in myself because I realized something painful. I wasn't overlooked before. I was underprepared. And instead of building the missing skills patiently, I tried to leap over the gap. That gap caught up to me. For months, I struggled to find a similar position. Recruiters asked why I left a stable company for a startup that collapsed. I tried to spin it as ambition, but they could hear the impulsiveness underneath. Financial stress grew slowly. Savings shrank steadily. Confidence eroded quietly. And in the silence of those unemployed months, I had no choice but to sit with myself. And that's when the real learning began. Impatience is often disguised as courage, but psychologically, it's usually fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of not being recognized, fear that if you don't act now, you'll miss your only chance. I wasn't chasing opportunity, I was running from insecurity. I equated waiting with weakness, but waiting can be strategic. Patience isn't passive, it's disciplined delay. When we rush major life decisions without data, reflection, or emotional regulation, we aren't being bold, we're being reactive. There's a psychological term called present bias. It means we overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue long-term consequences. That was me. I overvalued the new title, the higher salary, the fast momentum, and I undervalued stability, reputation, and growth through preparation. The day the startup collapsed wasn't the day I learned patience. The day I sat alone in my apartment, realizing I had confused speed with strength, that's when it hit me. I had tried to control outcomes by moving fast, but true control requires timing. 6 months later, I finally landed a new role. Not as glamorous, not as high-paying as I once wanted, but stable. And this time, I did something different. I slowed down. I asked questions. I listened more than I spoke. I observed before offering solutions. At first, it felt uncomfortable. Silence felt like weakness. But over time, I noticed something powerful. When you respond instead of react, people trust you more. When you pause before deciding, you see risks more clearly. When you let opportunities unfold instead of forcing them, you choose better. A year into that job, another leadership opportunity opened up. This time, I didn't rush into the director's office. I assessed my skills honestly. I sought feedback. I waited until my performance metrics and team support made the decision obvious. And when I finally applied, I didn't feel desperate. I felt ready. That promotion came without tension. Not because I demanded it, but because I had grown into it. Patience didn't slow my life down. It stabilized it. And stability builds momentum that lasts. We live in a culture obsessed with speed. Fast growth, fast money, fast success. Social media shows overnight transformations. Career advice pushes bold moves. Motivational quotes praise immediate action. But here's the quiet truth no one advertises. Not all movement is progress. Sometimes the strongest decision is to wait, to gather more information, to develop skills quietly, to regulate emotion before acting. The hardest lesson I ever learned wasn't about ambition. It was about timing. The day I lost my job wasn't the worst day of my life. It was a day I was forced to confront my own impulsive decision-making. And in that discomfort, I learned something far more valuable than a title. Self-control creates long-term success. Patience protects you from avoidable regret. And maturity is choosing discipline over ego. So now I move differently. Not slower, but wiser. And every time I feel the urge to rush, to leap before I'm ready, to prove myself immediately, I ask one question. Am I moving forward, or am I just afraid to wait? Think about your last big decision. Did you choose it because it was right, or because you didn't want to wait?